Working out the mean from a frequency table. First of all though, let's start with doing a little bit of a starter. Pause the video and see if you can find the 5 integers that would have these averages. Okay, so here are the answers. If you did not know how to solve it or you got it wrong, then carry on watching. I will work through this question in the next part of the video. If you got it right and your averages knowledge is really good, then feel free to fast forward through that bit of the video. Okay, so if you need help solving the starter, then carry on watching this part of the video. If you got it correct, feel free to fast forward to the next bit. So reading the question, it says 5 integers have the median of 17, a mode of 12, a range of 8, and a mean of 16. If the smallest number is 12, what are the other numbers? So integers are any whole numbers, negative, positive, including 0. So I know I'm going to have 5 numbers in my data. So I first of all drew little squares to represent the numbers that I'm going to need, and I'm going to fill them in from the information that I've been given. So the median is 17. So the median is the middle value. There's 5 values, so the middle number is going to be 17. The mode is 12, but they've also told me that the smallest number is 12. If I've done these in order, which I would have had to do in order to find my median, I know that my first value is going to be 12. It's also the mode, so it's got to have it's got to be in the data the most times. So I'm going to put in 12 over here, because if they're in order, there's only 2 spaces left. Then I'm having a look at this. It says the range is 8. Okay, so if I normally work out the range, I'm going to take the biggest value and I'm going to take the smallest value away from that. I would get the range. That means that 12 add 8 is going to give me my biggest number, so that's 20. I'm going to pop in 20 over there. And all I've got missing now is that 4th number. So how do I go about that? Well, how do we work out the mean? Normally the way we would work out the mean is to add all the numbers together and then divide it by the numbers, the amount of numbers that we've got. That means that I would have 12, add 12, add 17, add x, that's my unknown, add 20, divided all by 5 would give me 16, and that would be my mode. So now that I've got that written down as an equation, I can solve it. So add up the numbers that I've got and I'll end up with 61 plus x plus my unknown number. I can't add that to it because I don't know what it is. I'm going to divide all that by 5, and that is still going to give me 16. In order to solve that, I will work backwards. Here I have got 61 plus x, so that, let's say it was in brackets. I need to really get rid of that 5. We don't like fractions in maths when we're solving equations. So it's 61 plus x is being divided by 5. Opposite of dividing is times. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. And on this side, these two would cancel. So we'll end up with 61 plus x equals 16 times by 5 is going to give me 80. Okay, so now the only thing in the way really here is the 61. I want to know what 1x is. So the opposite of a positive 61 would be a negative 61. So I'm going to take 61 from both sides, and I'm going to land up with 80 take away 61 is 19. So my 4th number in my 5 numbers is going to be 19. So Arsenal scored the following number of goals in their first 20 matches in the 2012-2013 Premier League season. So we've got our data, and these are all the goals that were scored in each of the 20 games. So for example, in the first game they played, they scored 0 goals. In the second game they played, they also scored 0 goals. Pause the video and work out the mean of this data. The next bit of the video is me working through the mean. Don't feel that you can fast forward through that bit. Watch it because it is introducing how to work out the mean from a frequency table. Okay, so you might have found the mean of this set of data by adding them all together and then dividing by 20. But you know, I think that is quite tedious, even though these are really small numbers, so it wouldn't really be a huge issue to do that. Or you could have gone and you could have said to yourself, okay, so there are, so for 0 goals, there were 6 of them. You could have added that up. So you would have said 1 goal was scored in 6 games. Add that to 2 goals were scored in 2 games. Add that to 2 games had 5 goals. 1 game, add that 1 game had 6 goals, and 1 game had 7 goals, and you would have divided that by 20, and that would have given you a mean. Okay, but even that is actually still quite tedious. So the way to do it, which is much more time efficient and much more effective, is to use a frequency table. So here's one I drew earlier. So here we go. I have got a frequency table, and I have written down, so in 20 games, I had 20 games, and I either scored 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 goals. And in 6 games, Arsenal scored nothing. In 6 games, they scored 1 goal. In 2 games, they scored 2 goals. In 2 games, they scored 3 goals. In none of the games they played, they scored 4, and so forth. So to work out the mean from a frequency table, what we would do is we would first of all multiply 0 by 6. So it's exactly the same as we would have done over here, okay, just in a table. So 0 times 6, so we would put the fx would mean the frequency timed by x, goals would be x, and this is our frequency. So I would have 0 times 6 here, I would have 1 times 6, 2 times 2, 3 times 2, 4 times 0, 5 times 2, 6 times 1, and 7 times 1. Then let's work those out ever so quickly. Okay, so I would have 0, 6, 4, 6, 0, 10, 6, and 7. Now here, I'm going to introduce you to new notation. This is the Greek letter sigma, and in maths we use it to say the sum. Okay, so sigma means sum. So the sum of our frequency, that would be sum of our frequency here, is 20, okay, because we played 20 games, okay, or Arsenal played 20 games. Here we would have the sum of fx, okay, so this is the sum of our frequency multiplied by our goals, and adding that up, it would be 39. So we can say, to work it out, 39 divided by 20, and that is going to be equal to 1.95. So that is our mean. In maths, we can write this out. So if this is our sum of fx divided by our sum of f, that is the mean. That is how we would write it mathematically. If there are large amounts of data, it is easier if it is displayed in a frequency table. And then we can work out our averages from that frequency table. So to calculate the mean from a frequency table, let's revise that very quickly. The first step would be to multiply the frequency by the x, or in this case by goals. It's not always going to be goals. So we will have 0 times by 3. We would put in 0 over here. 1 times 4 would be 4, and so forth. So we would fill that table in, and then step 2, we would add up the total of fx. So we would sum up fx and get our total there. The third step would be to calculate the sum of the frequencies. So in this instance, we would be adding up this column and landing up with the sum of our frequencies. The fourth step is to divide this total by this total, and that is going to give us our frequency. So we divide the sum of our fx by the sum of f to get the mean. If you would like to pause the video and make any notes that you think are going to help you in remembering this before going unpausing and working through the example in the next part of the video. So here's an example for you to try. Pause the video and give it a go. Unpause when you're done and check if you've got it right. Okay, so let's go through the answer. So the first step was to work out the total number of goals. So that's fx. So 0 times 3 would be 0, and so forth. The second step would have been to work out your total number of games. So that is your frequency. Sum of your frequency is 20, so altogether there were 20 games. And your sum of fx, which is your total number of goals, would have been 40. The third step is to divide the total number of goals by the total number of games to find out the mean, which would be 40 divided by 20, which would give you 2. We can also work out other averages from this table of values. For example, we can work out the mode. So out of 7 games, 2 goals were scored, so 2 is our modal value. And we can also work out the range. So the least goals scored was 0, and our highest value, which are the most goals scored in one game, would have been 5. 5 take away 0 is 5. We will concentrate on range and mode in future lessons, so don't worry about that too much. The main learning objective today is to be able to calculate the mean from a frequency table. Now go to the corporate maths worksheets that I have attached for you in ClassChart and work through that worksheet. When you mark it, don't forget to use PAC marking. Here is a reminder what it's all about, and then submit your work on ClassChart. Remember, if you get stuck, you can always come back to this video and rewind, re-listen to any part of the video you didn't understand. And you can also use your notes.